Hi everyone, welcome back to Spellbinder's 12 Days of Stitchmas. The final wrap up is here with days 10, 11, and 12. And these final stitching dies will not disappoint with a stocking, a cute sweater, and an absolutely gorgeous angel. So let's get started with day 10. The Christmas stocking is a 5-piece die set. About halfway through this series, I decided I should be making 2 of each ornament, one with stitching and one without. I wanted to illustrate that these dies are versatile. If you're not a stitcher, these dies work beautifully with or without the stitching. Although I'm making these as ornaments, they would be beautiful as tags or put on cards. And if you need to make multiples, take away the stitching and these are super fast to pull together. Having said that, the fact is the stitching on all of these projects is pretty straightforward and simple. And it really does not take a lot of time. For the stitch stocking, I'm using soft yellow embroidery floss on the glitter die cut. And when the stocking is complete, the cuff also has a little bit of stitching with some vertical stitches. And like all of the elements that have stitching, I turn to Tombow glue. Once the glue has been dotted on well, making sure that I'm catching not just the cardstock, but the actual stitches themselves, I set them aside to dry completely. While they're drying, I can put my stocking together that does not have any stitching. The die cut with the stitching detail goes on the plain die cut, and then the cuff is adhered to the top of the stocking. And it is finished off with a little stocking hanger. On the back of the stocking, I adhere another die cut of the cuff just to clean it up. There is also a second little die cut that goes with the stocking hanger to give it some dimension. The Tombow glue is clear on my stitching elements, and so I know they're dry and I can adhere them to the plain die cuts. When this adhesive is dry, it leaves a very tacky surface and does a really good job of holding the stitches in place and also helping those die cuts to lay nice and flat. And like the first stocking, I have a second cuff. I adhere it to the back and it just gives it a nice cleaner look. And after the stocking hanger is adhered, then I can start embellishing with gold crystals. The stitch stocking, I'll just add in a few embellishments. For the other stocking, I'll add in many more. And then the stockings are finished up with the pale yellow embroidery thread used to create ties. And then we're on to day 11. This is a really fun Christmas sweater with a beautiful snowflake detail. This is a 4-piece die set, with one of the dies cutting 3 pieces, the trim for the neck and the sleeves. Once the detail die has been centered in the outline die, I use a little bit of low-tack tape to hold everything in place as it goes through the die cutter. One sweater has been die cut from the black metallic cardstock and the other from cream. I'll be stitching the black metallic sweater. Although this metallic paper is referred to as black, it really is a dark gray. This is a fast design to stitch up and I'll be using the soft yellow embroidery thread. This really stands out against the darker background. It looks so pretty. And then on goes the Tombow adhesive and it's set aside to dry. And once again, I've borrowed the ornament hanger from the day 1 die set. I've cut it 2 times and I'll back it just to give it a little bit of extra strength. It's adhered to the plain die cut of the sweater before the detail sweater die cut is adhered to the plain one. I'm first going to attach all of the trim. The trim pieces for the bottom of the sweater and the cuffs have an area above the detail that is plain. The glue is applied to this area and they are adhered underneath the sweater. With the trim in place, the sweater is now adhered to the plain die cut, sandwiching the ornament hanger in between the two. And when the Tombow adhesive is dry on the other sweater, it is put together in the exact same way. And I decided to only add the gold crystals to the cream-colored sweater, the exception of one crystal right in the center of that snowflake. And again, I've used that pale yellow embroidery thread to create the ties. And in my opinion, the best has been saved for last. This angel is absolutely gorgeous. The angels have been die cut from both cream and gold cardstock. One will be more cream and the other mostly gold. The stitching detail will be done on the cream-colored cardstock die cut. These are long vertical stitches. I find with these longer stitches that I have to be quite careful with the tension. If I pull it too tight, the die cut will buckle. With each stitch, I hold it in place while I complete the next one. This helps keep the tension just right for all of the stitches. All of those long vertical stitches were completed on the top half of the die cut, and then I did those that were on the lower half. And once again, I reach for the Tombow adhesive and dot it well on the back of the die cut and set it aside to dry. And while the adhesive is drying, I'll go ahead and assemble the angel that does not have any stitching. After the detailed skirt has been adhered to the plain die cut, the bodice and the sleeves are adhered on the top of the skirt. Flipping it over, I put a dot of glue at the bottom of the sleeves and adhere the hands, making sure that the thumbs are closest to the skirt. Adhesive is applied to the center of the wings and the dress is set on top. I'll be using the ornament hanger again that comes with the Day 1 die set. So that the hanger is a little bit more sturdy, I've die cut 2 for each angel and they're stacked together. A dot of glue is added to the center lower portion of the halo and the head is attached to it. Adhesive is applied to the lower portion of the ornament hanger and the head is attached to that. Top of the bodice, I add a little stream of glue and then the head is attached to the dress. The same yellow embroidery floss is used to create the tie for each of the 2 ornaments. An additional head was die cut for each of the angels. It was adhered to the back of the ornament just to clean up the look. I just embellished the angel that did not have the stitching with gold crystals. Crystals were placed on all of the stitching holes. I did add in a couple of additional crystals at the top of the skirt just to balance it out. And that completes Spellbinder's 12 Days of Stitchmas. I loved working with each and every one of the stitching die sets included in this wonderful advent calendar. Whether you have this calendar for yourself personally or as a gift, it is a special treat. I hope that you enjoyed this series, and as always, I appreciate your visit.